I'm not going to want to talk about too much of someone's character or anything. What I'm doing here is I'm speaking with truth. And at the very beginning of all of this, I said that I was going to be, speaking with truth. Everything's going to be there for everybody to see, that everybody was to use their own discernment, asking it within their own questions and bringing it up to Him about what it is that's being said and put before them. And this is the way it's supposed to be with everything right across the board. And it just so happens to be that I was doing just that, following where I was being led, obeying what it is that I believe that I'm being told to do and how to do it. When it comes to scriptures, reading them out, not sure whether I should or not. Like, is it me? Is it, people accuse you and say, well, no, it's just because she felt that was the mood she was in, or no, that's because, she's fitting it in with what she's saying, and I'm looking for certain things. And no, it is so far away from the truth thinking that way. But if that's the way you want to believe, then sure, that's going to, that's not going to get you too far with me to understand who I am. And I know something happened with this channel, that there was a breach in spirit. I really feel that there was a breach in spirit, and I'm not going to get into details, but what I just witnessed with Serenity Rain, and I'm using her name because I want her name I want to be one voice with her. I want her to be known as someone who had given herself and put herself before you and showed her pain, her confusion, how the program worked the best, that, how she was breaking out of it and what was happening day by day, showing others, being that vulnerable, and knowing full well that there was wolves and the enemies were watching her every move. We're one voice. It's not just Serenity Rain, Fiona Barnett, Katie Groves, Dee. Can't remember your last name, Dee. One voice. That's what it is. I can go on about my triggers, what happened to me when God put me down after He carried me and put me down and said, now, fight. The triggers were going off left and right. It was phenomenal for me. I couldn't believe it. My family went through pain and suffering while I was going through it, and I was healing. I was like that lion that was roaring with a thorn in his foot and wouldn't let anybody come near me to help me. No. I know triggers. I understand them completely, and so does my family. I too forgave the guy, him, whatever. I didn't have to tell him. I didn't have to go in and sit at the same table with him. I mean, there was choices. There was avoid. There was not running away. There is a difference, but confronting, what it is that you're seeing before you, and if it's your pedophile that's sitting at the same table, how are you going to react? I gave him over to God. And I saw what God had done. So I too remember saying to myself, when my daughter turned 7 years old, I looked at my daughter and I thought, what's the difference between her and me? outside of the obvious. Innocence. She had her innocence. And I protected that. So triggers, and being in a really bad situation or not being ready for it, believe me, you can spiral right out of control. You want to talk a trigger, you think go back to that testimony where I was attacked that Christmas. You want to talk about a pack of wolves? Yeah. Miss Mitchell, you have no idea, if you had not experienced it, or have known someone who has experienced and watched their behavior. I never talked to people. I couldn't work. I panicked. Too many people around me, I panicked. I couldn't socialize. When I did try, I was called ignorant. I was called a slut. I was called every name in the book. From people that didn't even know who I was. That I gave up on people. Why put myself out there? So I see what these beautiful people are doing right now, and they're shining. Whether you believe it or if you can't see God's glory through them, and every word that comes out of their mouth is a tune. They're singing God's glory. You look at them and you see God. You see how he's taken them out of their hand and said, no man is going to take my babies. No. Now, I don't know, as far as the splitting off, because no, I don't have DID, no. Spirit just kept saying, remember, 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 remember. Don't forget, remember everything. And I did. I did. Might have got it on the shelf a little bit, little dust, but didn't take much for me to remember. So I'm not going to get into my personal triggers as these young ladies have. I'm not going to do that. I believe I've opened myself up enough just with Jesus and the testimony of him. I'm okay with that. But it's not just Miss Mitchell. Everyone's guilty of something coming against someone, saying I'm exposing this one, or because some of them, yes, the exposing is of the truth. It is not of character.